Welcome to Makers International, a podcast of makers from around the world, talking with makers from around the world. Here's Jamie Page, Steve Twidell, Chris Cute, and now your host, Richard Morley.
Hello. I'm trying to break Richard's record, and one for good luck. Hello. Welcome back to the Makers International podcast. Today I'm going to introduce Mr. Temple Boy Turnings, Steve Twidell.
Hello.
Mr. Brainfizz, Richard Morley.
Hello.
Mr. Milliput himself, Jim Overton.
Hello, everybody.
And you should know me anyway, so I don't need to introduce myself. But I will do anyway. I am Jamie Page. So hello to you. I'm going to get on to this week's shout out, or last week's shout outs from over on YouTube's. So thanks to Steve Neal at Harnell Media, Sam Thomas from Twisted Crafts UK, Billy Burr, Adrian McQuillan, and Jim Dockrell. So thank you very much for all of that. We also have SoundCloud where you can go and listen to the podcast, and we also have iTunes where you can listen over there. I'm sure there's many other platforms you can listen to by downloading some sort of app or whatever. I know you kids know what's going on these days. But we could certainly do with more reviews over on the iTunes. But anyway, onto the sponsors. This podcast is brought to you in part by Yorkshire Grit, the Woodturners abrasive paste. For more information, visit yorkshire-grit.com. And our good friend over at Chad, visit mancrafting.com. Is that right? Yeah. mancraftingtm.com, sorry. And Pam at Highland Boxes, who is giving away hybrid pen blanks. For more information about all our sponsors, go to makersinternationalpodcast.com/sponsors. And while we're on the subject of sponsors, I also want to give a shout out to Steve Nealon at Harnell Media, who helps me out on an awful lot behind the scenes on the website. So you can go to him at harnellmedia.com for all your makers website needs. And also want to shout out Maker Central 2019. For more information on that, you can go to makerscentral.co.uk. With all of that out of the way, and Jim will get to you shortly. In actual fact, you may be able to partake in this if you're about, whether it be on the chat or on the panel, if it actually happens. Steve, do we have any random listener questions?
We do. We have one. And it's quite simply, are we doing a Halloween special this year?
I'd say it's up to Chris, because Chris runs this show.
And he's also not here, so we can avoid the question.
Also not here.
I suppose you should explain why Chris isn't here, because people are asking, or one person anyway cares.
Why is Chris not here? Chris has gone off to join another podcast. Chris has joined the Fool with Tools, because Chris is a fool.
And he's got loads of tools.
Ooh.
And he's got loads of tools to fit his large workshop. So the truth of the matter is, right now we don't know. Probably will do. Probably won't. Who knows?
Does Halloween fall on one of the times when we... Is it on like Sunday when we do the podcast, or Wednesday when we do the podcast?
The 5th of November is on a Monday, so it'd have to be on the 4th that we do anything, or the 11th.
Right, okay. So maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe we will.
Maybe we won't. Maybe we won't.
Watch this space.
But then we could do the 28th, because the 31st is the Wednesday when the podcast goes out. So
yeah, could do it that way as well.
Or we could just not pop up.
Or we could even do a pop. Could do a pop up.
Yeah, pop up podcast. We haven't done one in for a while.
Yeah.
As long as it's not a poop up podcast.
They're all poop.
Up. Yeah, they're all poop.
There'll be no poop ups. There's been enough poop up in tonight. Thank you very much.
Yeah, a poop up podcast. So anyway, on to the matter at hand, Mr. Jim Overton. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. Yeah, very good.
Great stuff. Great stuff. So we finally managed to drag you on here, I guess.
Yeah.
So anyway, how did let's get to the we're gonna go old school, I think, for the very first question, and we're gonna go back to what the woodworking junkie used to say. What is your Batman story, if you like? How did you get into making?
I think if we're going right back, I'd have to say my parents are, very responsible for it, really, because I've got a very, very creative mum. She's very arty, really brilliant artist, and has always made things. And my dad has always been really good at woodwork and joinery, and he's very thorough. And he's got a very practical mind and problem-solving mind. So if we're going right back, I probably owe my parents a lot of thanks for my abilities or my aptitude. But from the school, I was always really good at metalwork or metal shop, as you'd say in the States, and woodwork and art. I always used to come top in those subjects. I used to really enjoy those. And really, I have made things all my life, whether it was model making or, going right up through. I've always been happier if I've had some sort of little project on the go. And I go through phases, as a lot of blokes do with their hobbies. I was heavily into photography at one point, but I always come back to making, and that's been an underlying thing with me. I get a huge sense of satisfaction out of making things. And it goes right back to childhood. Yeah, right back, really.
So any fond memories of like first projects you had made or anything like that, or any fond school memories of projects? Or
I did quite a bit of sculpture and clay work at school, and
make the old ashtrays and things like that.
Oh, we did copper, the old ball peen hammer, and making the copper ashtrays and things like that. And I did a lot of clay work and stuff, and sculpture and carvings and things. I used to carve soap, big blocks of soap and stuff when we were at school. But I'll give you one of my early memories of Milliput, if you like, and go back that far.
Yeah.
And that would be when I was 16, and I'd just left school, and that was the first time I used Milliput, 1984. And I used it to repair the mysterious holes that had appeared in Mum and Dad's pond liner. They had one of these fiberglass ponds, pond liners. And I remember in the summer holidays repairing the holes in the pond using Milliput. And I knew where they'd come from. It was my brother's secret air rifle he had hidden in the back of the wardrobe.
Yeah, I think I remember you telling us that story. Yeah.
So that was the first time that was my first use of Milliput, and it quickly evolved from there. Really, I used it for ever since, like I say, the early 80s. I used it right through for repairing and making things, making little figurines, and I used to use it for inlaying. I used to make these personalised key rings where I'd carve out people's names with a Dremel and then fill it with Milliput and sand it back. And some of my early wood carvings, I drill out the eyes in the wood and fill it with Milliput to inlay. I'd inlay Milliput into the eyes.
Mm. And a few years on, you're now whacking it inside of bowl blanks.
Well, yeah, it was a natural progression, really. Once I started wood turning, that was really, it was an obvious thing for me because I'd always used it as an inlay material and repaired wood with it and made things with it. So I thought I could use this in wood turning, and I just came up with all these patterns and things, really. And that's how it evolved. Yeah, it was an obvious progression.
Wow. Well, since being since you're, I don't know if many people know this, but I mean, I only found out a few days ago, like being a dentist. Have you ever used Milliput in that for a filling or anything like that?
No, they're strictly prohibited.
That could be good. Let's have a nice bit of terracotta just down the back there.
Terracotta. Bit of terracotta.
Bit of terracotta.
They prefer superfine white for some reason. Yeah.
So you're a dentist by sort of trade, profession.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that at all.
No,
I know very little about you, Jim. So how did you get into?
Know that?
Say again.
Not many people know that.
So how did you go then from sort of making as a kid into dentistry, and what was the sort of the reasoning behind that, rather than maybe something like a trade, or not like dentistry is not a trade, but you know what I mean, like chippy or plumber or.
I don't know. Do you know, the reason I looked at dentistry in the first place was because a careers advisor at sixth form college said they're looking for dentists and you've got the right qualifications. And when I looked into it, and I thought, oh, they're working with their hands, and that was one of the main reasons I went into it, really. I'm not sure I'd recommend anyone going into it these days. I certainly wouldn't want my kids going into dentistry. It's it's not what it used to be, and it's a very, very stressful profession.
Plus, everyone hates you.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, you go to work and no one likes you. But it's I wouldn't recommend.
It's kind of like doing podcasting, really.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no, it's. I enjoy working with my hands. That's for sure. I like I like the creative side of dentistry, and I like people as well. It's. I couldn't be in solitary on an island on my own. I do like people. There's times when you want to be on your own and happy with your own company, but I'm a gregarious sort, I suppose.
That's kind of almost an opposite, because a lot of makers, woodworkers, it's kind of a solitary hobby, isn't it? So to go from a people-loving social person to almost near isolation, it's quite
it kind of balances it out, I think. I do run out of small talk. I'm, by the end of the day, the last thing I want to talk about is the weather. And I'm not very good at, the older I'm getting, the worse I am at small talk. And I think retreating into my cave and doing my project is quite good. It straightens my mind out. It de-stresses me completely. I get so absorbed in what I'm doing that it's how I get relaxation, and it's the sense of satisfaction I get from completing a project and holding it in my hand, and I really like that. I really like it. Yeah.
When I was watching your last video of you carving the skull, and I was listening to you describe all the parts of the skull, I actually was wondering, how the hell does he know all that? And now the dentistry obviously makes sense. Now it must be part of the training to learn all that, is it?
Dentist years ago. But you. I remember talking to UKISS one night.
Yes.
All night.
Yeah, there was It was a very late night that night, or very early morning.
They're all late nights with Steve.
Yeah, or early mornings. Early mornings.
Early mornings.
When the conversation gets actually going is early morning.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, I think that's the most I've ever drunk in my life.
Yeah, I have that effect on people. As you can see behind me.
Yeah.
So you've been making pretty much the whole time. You're a dentist by profession.
Yeah.
You still make on the side. You kind of, I think, touched on sort of woodworking and making things.
Yeah.
Type things. But I think certainly by me, you're primarily known as a turner. and obviously the Milliput, which I guess we'll get into in more depth. What got you into kind of the turning rabbit hole, and when did that come about?
I've not been turning that long, you know, because I'm 50 now. I know I look a lot younger than
Not a day over 21.
Yeah, I know I look early 20s. I mean, I'm always been told that. But, you know, I'm 50 now. And so I came to turning relatively late, I suppose, but a lot of people do. I suppose it was about 4 years ago, and 5 years maybe. I've lost track now. It could be longer. But I bought a lathe because when I make things, the number of times I wanted a dowel of a certain wood in a certain size, or I wanted to make a base, a round base, or you know, just silly things, or a handle. Just loads of times when I thought I could really do with a lathe. And I bought a little jet mini lathe, and of course I got hooked on it. So I thought, oh, this is nice. And I, you know, because I understood wood and grain, and I, you know, worked with wood a lot of my life, I picked it up really quick. And it, you know, it's very addictive, wood turning, very, very addictive. And you know, and you get that instant result, really. Yeah, wood carving and sculpting and things, it takes time, whereas wood turning, you can achieve something that looks pretty amazing in very short space of time. And so I got a lot more into it than I was planning. To me, it was going to be another tool in my workshop, this mini lathe, but it did kind of take over for a little while. I had a couple of lessons with John Davis, a professional wood turner. Me and Nick know John. Yeah, Nick Zametti, and me and him went up there and had some lessons with him and had a bit of a laugh. And yeah, it's amazing what you can learn in the space of a few minutes off a professional wood turner, and amazing what you can learn that you were doing completely wrong. Yeah. In fact, that's something I would recommend anyone who's looking to get into wood turning. Don't watch numpties like me doing it on YouTube. Go and get a proper professional to give you some lessons. Use YouTube for ideas, you know. Use it
100%.
Yeah, use it for creative ideas, YouTube. Don't look at it as anything else unless you know that person on there is an RPT, you know, registered professional turner. Then just use YouTube for ideas. You know, the way I'm doing it, a lot of it's probably very iffy and not correct, but you know, I've given people ideas and inspiration, and that gives me pleasure. I like to inspire people. You know, it's good. But yeah, that's the one thing. My top tip. You know, even if you just have one lesson, go and get a lesson. Learn how to do it safely, and you'll be amazed how much you'll learn as well off someone who knows what they're doing. But I'm sure you'd all agree with that.
But I literally was going to agree with you completely. I mean, I got my lathe a few years ago, and I sort of muddled through for a bit, and that was pretty much before YouTube kind of took off.
Yeah.
And you know, people say self-taught. That I just picked things, I made things up as I went along, and I experimented, and I found things that worked for me and things that didn't.
Yeah.
But then I joined a club, and it was a pretty good club, and there were quite a few guys there. I don't think there were any RPT guys there, but there was you know, as most wood turning clubs are, there was a lot of older gentlemen that had been turning for quite a while. And what I learned, just the trajectory was much steeper than just muddling blindly through that.
Yeah, that's right. You know, these. I'm not really a club person. You know, I tend to like to do things at my own pace and choose my moments. I don't think I could really join a club and go on club nights and things. But the people in these clubs are incredibly good turners. You know, a lot of them spend far longer at their lathes than I ever do. Yeah, some of these retired guys, they spend every spare minute at their lathe, and they are incredibly accomplished turners. And you know, they may not be as quick as a professional turner, but their end result, you know, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. You know, very accomplished turners. Yeah, I've had to do a couple of club demos, and it's quite daunting, really.
It's scary as hell.
You know, I don't mind. I don't get phased by talking in front of people and, you know, doing demos and things. I quite enjoy them. But, you know, you're looking at this bunch of people in front of you who, you know, have spent far longer turning than you have and are very, very accomplished. And the first thing I say is, you know, I'm not here to teach you how to turn wood. I'm here to show you how to do a simple inlay technique, you know. And, you know, I'm just going to show them what I know and what I do, you know, and give people different ideas, really.
So how did you get into the kind of the demo scene and doing all that?
I just get asked. It was through YouTube, really, and I get emails asking me to do it, and Record Power. The first demos I did were for Record Power. They at Kempton Park last year was the first proper demos I did, and I've done quite a few over the past year, and that's what Jamie's off to do next week, isn't it?
Yeah, next week. Yeah.
Ooh. I was going to be going along to Heckle, but it's my birthday weekend, and my wife surprised me and told me she's taking me away. So yeah, we're going away for the night. But,
so Jim said, "Thank God for that."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ain't got to go and watch no scroll sawing.
That D&M tool show is I did the two big demos there, and I had just while I was doing those demos, I had 4 different wood turning clubs approach me at Kempton Park and ask me to do demos for them, and that's, you know, it all just grows from there, really. But
it only takes that one thing that someone sees you at that and they see you demoing and think, oh, he could demo, maybe he come and demo for us, and then somebody else. It just,
because I don't, you know, I'm quite confident doing it. I don't, you know, I quite enjoy doing it, I suppose. So yeah, so they think, yeah, well, there's something new. And I'll tell you what is funny, we get a little bit caught in our bubble of YouTube, and we've got our making community, and I think we think that everybody sees what everybody's doing, and everyone's had a go at doing a Milliput project, and everyone's done this and that. At the big club demo that I did earlier this year, a big club demo, none of them really watched YouTube. None of them had, I think a couple of them had seen Milliput, and there was about 60 people I was demonstrating to. And they hadn't seen Milliput used. They didn't know what Milliput was. They didn't watch YouTube, and it was really quite nice. It was quite refreshing, really. You know, I was getting asked loads and loads of questions, and yeah, it was quite good. But I think it's very easy to think that everybody's seen everything, but you know, not everybody's like us. You know,
and it's nice when that happens, because, you know, I used to use Milliput when I was a kid. My brothers used it. My uncle used it, all for FX model kits.
Yeah, mods.
but it wasn't something which I thought of to take into woodworking at all.
No.
You know, as soon as I heard of somebody using it, I could instantly relate to, yes, okay, that makes sense. The rest of it. But I genuinely like it when, you know, people, and I think the majority of the maker community will look at another discipline, whether it's making model buses or making model trains, and they'll see the making side of it, not the bus or the train or the aeroplane side of it. And that's where you get that cross-pollination.
Yeah, the thing is, with the skills I've learned over the years, it's partly what fires my imagination, because I've got all these different things I can utilise and cross over from one side to the other, metalwork to woodwork to, you know, all different stuff. And And I think that's what fires up my imagination, and I'm good at problem solving. Sorry about this. I got a terrible tickle. I just have to have some medicine.
Is there any questions from out in the chat, Steve?
There is. There's two questions and kind of just a statement. The first one was from Dave the Wood Barber, and he asked, when are the new colours of Milliput coming out? Because I'm running out of makeup to make my own colours.
They're still in development at the moment. I've just received another parcel this week of the latest batch of turquoise, which I'll be testing. And because it's not as straightforward as just bunging some different colour in. They've got to make sure that the colour is colour fast and it's the right colour, and things like that. You know, that it's stable, and it's quite tricky. And they're a very, very small family business in Wales, and for them to suddenly start producing more colours, it means really they've got to buy more machinery and get more staff. So it's quite a big thing for them. Sorry about this. Poor medicine.
It's all right. We'll edit it out. Or
Go on, get that medicine down, yeah.
Chug, 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 chug.
Chug, chug.
There's going to be a bit of an announcement in the next month or so about when it's going to be finalised. But it will.
Oh, did we just get an exclusive? Oh,
it'll be next year anyway. But yeah, the turquoise is looking really good. The latest batch is looking really good. So the turquoise is definitely on, and they're working on. There will be some other colours as well eventually.
So forgive my ignorance, but I think when you was it Makers Central, I think you were working on, or you just been using, was it yellow and red, or?
Makers Central, I was using black, white, and terracotta.
Right, so the sort of the old school colours.
Yeah.
But yeah. You've also worked with some, or is the turquoise in the new colour?
Yeah, turquoise is a new colour. I made my own turquoise Milliput by years, a few years back, which I re-released a video a couple of weeks ago because I deleted it. And I thought, well, now they're going to produce a turquoise, I'll put it back on. The reason I deleted it was because I used a pigment powder in white Milliput, and I couldn't actually find out what was in that pigment powder, so I couldn't say whether it was safe or not, so I deleted it. So I re-edited the video, and I've put it out just as turquoise Milliput technique. But the thing is with Milliput, they won't release a product unless it's safe, so their turquoise will be good. So yeah, it will make a big difference. Turquoise is such a popular colour with wood turners. It looks so good in so many woods, and it's it's in North America, it's and even in South America as well. It's Native American art forms. They use a lot of turquoise. So
when you say safe, do you mean I could make a spin top for a kid and it could put it in its mouth and it'd be totally fine?
I don't know, because it's not. I don't think it's certified food safe or toy safe, but I think it's non-toxic is what they will only use non-toxic ingredients in it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, standards are so strict now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they're a lovely company, Milliput. They're really lovely people. They it's nice that they're a small UK company, and they are a very small company, family-run business, and they're just they're nice people. Yeah, it's good to work.
They seem to be a big supporter of the maker community as well.
Yeah, but they didn't really know about the making community and YouTube side of it, and they were probably a bit bemused when I sent them an email. So,
right. Yeah,
check this out, see what you think, you know, and and it's all gone.
Well, I mean,
gone since then, really.
that leads into Tracy Keaton's. It's more of a statement rather than a question, and I tend to agree with her because she said she'd not heard of Milliput until she saw you bring your projects out, and she also never knew that there weren't colours other than black in the store, and that's pretty much for myself as well. I'd never heard of Milliput until I saw your videos, and it just seemed to explode after you brought it to the scene as well. So,
no, they've. You know, Eddie, the owner of Milliput, I mean, he's been back on the factory floor to keep up with demand. It has exploded. But Milliput's been around a long while. It's 50 years old.
Okay.
The product is 50 years old. And like I say, I've used it, you know, years and years ago, and people have been using it for repairing stuff and model making and modifying models and figures and things for years. But not everyone will have heard of it. A lot of model makers will have heard of it, but not necessarily. You know, it doesn't cross over. You know.
We have one more question from one of our sponsors, Glenn Senior from Yorkshire Grit, and he says, "What's Jim's favourite project he's made to date?"
It's got to be the bowl I did a couple of weeks ago with the brown mallee burr and the clear resin top.
Yeah, that came out incredible.
That was my favourite. That brown mallee burr I've had in my garage for several years, and it's an expensive piece of wood, and it's a very precious piece of wood. And it was one of those things that I was almost scared to turn it because I didn't want to mess it up. And I've been waiting for the right project to come into my head. And when I thought about it, I thought I want a natural edge to that burl, but everyone's done that, and it's been done before. I thought, what about a natural edge with a clear resin top on it? And so I thought, yeah, this is the one. And I planned it, made sure left nothing to chance, and it just came out as I wanted it. For anyone who hasn't seen it, is it here? Yeah, hang on one moment.
Give me an opportunity to get this dog resettled on my lap, stupid mutt.
We know how much you love that dog.
Let's just quickly click on that. There you go.
There you go. That's my favourite one, I think. But the finish I got on it using Glyn's Yorkshire Grit, it was just amazing. You know, and it's I was delighted with that. Really delighted. It's got a nice tactile, heavy feel to it as well. It's a really heavy piece of wood. Yeah, but
beautiful.
That's probably my favourite one. It's a couple of others that I've really liked. The lichen lamp that I did, there was a bit sort of retro style, like the old lava lamp, but with the lichen inside. That I was really pleased with that one. That hasn't had that many views on YouTube, but it's one that looks better in reality than it does on video, I think. But you can never tell with YouTube what people are going to like and what they're not.
Is that the one with the branch inside the resin?
That's it. Yeah.
I thought that was really, really nice.
That's probably one of my favourites too. And the other one is the Game of Thrones eyeball with the claw hand holding it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. That's my kind of flavour, that one. I did enjoy that.
But that's it's funnily enough, that's one of my least viewed videos.
It's probably because it's Game of Thrones.
Well, I thought it was going to go mad. It's gone viral on Facebook, tens of millions of views on Facebook, but it hasn't had many views on my channel. But that's that's a favourite one as well. I don't know. sometimes it's the latest project you've done is your favourite. You know, it's you know what it's like. You know, you get so into it. You get so. I have this very, very strong imagination, and everything I plan is almost in 3D in my mind. I have a definite idea about how I want it to come out, and when it does come out like that, I get such a sense of satisfaction, you know, that it's worked. And I think that for that short time, that's your favourite project at the end. But you know, when you're sort of in the cold light of day and you look at them, a bit different, I suppose.
Do you tend to work on several projects at sort of the same time, or do you, like when you're planning things out and you plan and plan and plan, do you just concentrate on that one thing, get it done? Another one.
I don't. Sometimes I'm working on one thing at a time, and other times I've got several on the go. Sometimes a project is all consuming, and sometimes I've got several things on the go. Some of the projects take quite a bit of preparation and planning, and so I might have several on the go. So it does vary. The other thing is I go for quite long periods where I'm unproductive because I suffer with diverticulitis, and if that's playing up, then my creative mojo flies out the window, and I don't really have the creativity or the energy to produce much. So it goes in fits and starts. So I might go for a period of time where I'm not coming up with much, and then suddenly I'm feeling well again, and I'm out there in the workshop, and I'll have 3 projects on the go.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I'm pretty much the same in terms of my channel. So much as sometimes it'll just be bam, 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 bam. Other times there'll be nothing for ages because I'm busy working on other things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's right. It's there's some projects that demand you know, full on attention, and there's certain turning projects that, of course, you can't leave them on the lathe for months, you know, because it's all going to go pear-shaped if you do. You've got to finish it and get on with it.
Yeah, that's just the way wood warps.
Yeah, that's right. You know, you can't leave wood. But, you know, there's other things like the little skull that I carved.
Awesome project. Love
I
that
won't
video.
buy it.
Hi.
But that's my little Halloween one for this year. That took me a lot of hours, but I did it over a period of days because I just, you know, if I had a bit of time, I went out into my garage and did a little bit more work on it. You know, I don't have to do it all at once. And it's quite nice like that. I want to do some more wood carving because that video came out all right. I was a bit worried about really whether it would look any good because wood carving is quite difficult to film, and it takes a long time, and it's a big edit afterwards. You know, it's quite a long edit. But I will do some more wood carving. I want to do some more animal skulls, and I've got a big buffalo skull that's been half carved for about 6 years, and I need to finish that at some point. I don't know if to do that as little instalments at the end of each of my videos. Look, this is how much I've done, or whether to just do it as one big video. I don't know. Yeah.
Or you could start some live shows.
Yeah. Well, where you drop stuff in the sawdust, you mean?
Exactly. Oh, you had to go there, didn't you? Oh,
burn!
I found it. I found it. I found it.
So what made you start a YouTube channel and get into that side of it as well? Where does that sort of fit into this story?
Yeah, the first thing I put on my YouTube channel was up here actually, was something like this. This is a megalodon tooth, fossil shark's tooth, and it was broken. This bit was missing, and I've replaced it with cast bronze. I don't know if you can see it in the light, but this bit's cast bronze, and I was quite pleased with how that came out. And I'd never seen anyone do that before. And my brother said to me, "You should put that on YouTube." He said, "People like it if it's something different and something new." And I said, do you reckon? And yeah, you should put it on YouTube. So I started up a YouTube channel. I did a 3-part video on how I did this fossil repair using cast bronze. And then nothing much happened. It didn't get many views or anything. And I kind of forgot about the YouTube channel for a year. And it was then that I started producing all these, the patterns in the Milliput on the bowls. And it was my brother again, who said, you should really put that on YouTube because that's something different. And I thought, yeah, I've been watching YouTube and I've not seen anyone do wood turning with it, with Milliput and stuff. And I thought, perhaps I should give something back to the community. I'd like to share it, because the one thing I found looking at YouTube was that a lot of wood turning was almost reinventing the wheel. A lot of people, there were the same ideas going round and round. And I thought, well, I'd like to give something back. And, I've spent hours watching creators on YouTube. Well, I'll put my idea on there. And that was really what launched the YouTube channel, because I put the Milliput thing on there and it just went mad. Because it was something different. It was new. So and that was really what's got me going on it, because it wasn't just, it was being part of that community, becoming part of the making community that really appealed to me. It's a lovely community. I enjoy it. I enjoy being part of it. It's really nice, sharing ideas and the social aspect of it, and things like Makers Central really brought that home,
And
how much of, sorry,
no, you dive in.
How much of your life is YouTube? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, where does YouTube fall into your life, and how important is it?
I suppose that's another thing that goes up and down. There's times when I become a bit obsessed. My poor long-suffering wife, Jenny, when I'm going through one of my creative phases, I become a bit sort of uncommunicative. I withdraw into myself because I'm thinking of ideas, I'm jotting things down, and all sorts of stuff like that, and it drives her mad, poor girl. And at times like that, it does become a little bit obsessional. But at other times, I'm not that bothered either way. It's about the YouTube. I enjoy making stuff, but the fact, I tend to film everything I make now. That's what I do, and if it's worthy of a film, then I'll stick it on YouTube. And I don't know really. It's the priority it takes goes up and down.
Do you get caught up with the analytics of it all and all that kind of thing, or does that bother you at all?
It didn't. I've never really bothered until in about the last, I suppose the last 2 months, I've started looking at the analytics, and so I've been wondering, what is it that makes a channel become really successful, and what is it that people are liking? How can I improve my channel? I suppose I've taken it more seriously in the past 2 months, and me and Nick Zametti put our heads together quite a bit, as to what works and what doesn't, and it's I suppose I have got a bit more caught up in that lately. I don't check my statistics every 2 seconds, or anything like that. It's but I am quite interested in what makes people tick,
Yeah, I think there's an awful lot of luck with it as well. But
there is. It's like I say, that Game of Thrones thing. I've had so many Facebook media groups get in touch with me about that Dragon's Eye, and they picked up on it and found it, and like I say, it's gone viral on Facebook, but on YouTube it's one of my least viewed videos of late, which is strange. But who knows?
Do you think there's something like that is, I don't want to say evergreen, but I don't want to say like topical, but it kind of is topical in terms of like when the new season comes out or when the show's actually running, and outside of that time frame, it sort of becomes a bit less prominent.
I think it will go up and down. I think it's going to be a slow, a slow burner. It's one that will probably collect views over a period of time. You know, some of the videos I've done that I've thought were a bit lame, and some of the ones that have had more views. You know, I can't really get my head around it, really. I did one on thread cutting in Milliput, which I thought was a bit boring, but that's had loads of views. And one of my most watched videos is making a leather knife sheath. You know, that's one of my most viewed videos, and that's 2 or 3 years old now. And that's still my, you know, when I'm looking at the analytics, and I hadn't realised this until in the past 2 months where I've started getting analytical, I've realised that's still one of my most viewed videos, you know. So perhaps I should do some more leather work, you know, do some more knife making. Yeah.
It sounds like something like the thread cutting in the Milliput would potentially be appealing to other model makers.
It does, yeah.
And you're kind of increasing your potential pool of viewers by including anyone that uses Milliput in the model making scene.
Yeah, no, I agree. That will have drawn it. You know, it drew in a few sort of slightly abrasive comments from model makers saying, "Well, we've been cutting thread in Milliput for years." Well, so have I. You know, I went through a phase back in the early 90s where I built remote control cars and things, and I remember using Milliput then to repair threads and you know, for doing these chassis modifications, and I was cutting threads in it for that. But that's a bit different, cutting threads for little machine screws, or, you know, up to sort of M6 compared with an M33 thread that I was doing in the video. You know, it's a very different beast. But it is the crossover. You're appealing to a wider selection, you know, a wider section of the audience, really.
And do you find that the sort of the channel potentially stifles a project, or do you go project idea, it will be a video, it goes to video, or do you go the sort of the other way, or both ways?
What do you mean? Do
you think, I want to make a bowl and I want to use resin, I'm going to make a resin bowl and I'll video it and it'll go on the channel? Or do you go, I wonder what might be a sort of a topical analytics good video, and then back the other way? Or do you go in both directions?
I do a little bit of both. The Game of Thrones thing, that was a deliberate thing where I thought, you know, that's topical. People like that, and I thought that might be appealing. So that was deliberate. I'd already made a couple of dragons' eyeballs, and it was actually one of the girls at work, Bethan, who said, "Do a Game of Thrones one, White Walker Dragon's Eye." And I said, "What's White Walkers and Game of Thrones?" And she had to show me because I hadn't watched it, and I thought, that's cool. That's got a nice blue iris. I can do that. And she says, "People love Game of Thrones. You should put that on there." And so that's how that one evolved. But as far as the other ones go, I just I make what I like to make, and I'd like to say I video everything. And if it's worthy of an edit and sticking on YouTube, I'll stick it on YouTube. I get so little time percentage-wise in my workshop that really I'd be an idiot not to film everything I make. So I think if it's worth a film, I'll make it into a film. But I try and do things that are a bit different. I don't like, you know, I don't really want to copy what other people have done. I want to try and do something that's a bit different. It's very difficult because just about everything's been done, hasn't it? And everything's a variation on a theme.
Sure. And I think it's probably more difficult now than it was 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 years ago, because
it's social media.
Exactly. Well, not just that, but the idea has been thought of, and people have seen it, and then a few more people. So more people think of it, and there's more exposure, and all of a sudden the list of things that could potentially be done starts to.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. There's very little that I can't say that everything I do is original, because I don't know what everyone else has done. There's an awful lot of people who. It's an awful big world we live in, and there's a lot of people on this planet, and they don't all put their stuff on YouTube. So, what I might think is original, someone else has probably already done some. You just don't know. You really don't know. It's yeah. But I'd like to try and come up with new things. I've got a very inventive mind. Really. Like I say, I drive my wife mad. When I'm going through one of my creative phases, it's I'm probably hell to live with, really, because I just go off into my world of my own.
Does she make as well, or does she just think you're mad?
No, she just thinks I'm nuts. Very supportive, actually.
There was a question from out in the chat from Dave the Wood Barber.
Oh
He
yeah.
says, have you thought of doing some dentures for the skull carvings?
No.
All I can imagine is, have you ever seen the Dentastix advert where you see a dog when it's got like human teeth and they're perfect?
Yeah, no, I haven't done. No, I won't be doing that. I will be doing some more skull carvings at some point.
Are you going to be making another Mike Walk puppet?
Well, I have got all. Actually, having said that, I have got all the bits together, ready to make Son of Nev.
Son of Nev.
Yeah, I think we're going to call him Scrub, Son of Nev. So I'm going to make a smaller caveman puppet thing, and I am going to use denture teeth for that.
That'd be hilarious. Just make sure they're perfectly gleamingly white.
No, they're not. I've ordered. I got some off eBay, actually. Some real grotty looking ones.
Oh God, second hand.
No. Ones.
Are they the ones that go tick 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 tick?
The little feet on the bottom.
You didn't buy them from a coroner's office, did you?
No. They're not whole dentures. They're the individual teeth that lab technicians set in to make dentures. They're the actual individual teeth. So I've got a little pack of them, which I'm going to make his ugly mug out of.
Oh dear! I guess it's coming up to the end of the show. I guess we better wrap everything up now. Jim, have you got anyone that you'd like to show a bit of love to and give them a bit of a shout out?
Yeah.
For today.
Yeah, there's quite a few people that spring to mind, but I'd like to give a shout out to Stephen Watson from Stephen's 8x6 workshop. I really like his videos. He's funny to watch, and he puts a lot of effort into editing his videos, which I enjoy. I think he's got a good sense of humour. I'd give us a shout out to Stephen Watson from Stephen's 8x6 workshop.
And when it comes to your social media, where can yourself be found?
I'm on Instagram, Jimson Stuff, and on Facebook as well, Jimson Stuff.
And your YouTube?
YouTube's channel is Jim Overton Jimson Stuff.
There we go. Welcome, Chris.
Hello.
Hey guys, am I late?
Very.
Or you can say you're very early for the next show.
I just wanted to check in so that Jamie wouldn't give me a hard time about missing an episode. Mr. Perfect Attendance over there. Anyway, hi Jim, how are you, buddy?
Hi Chris, how you doing?
Doing fine, my friend.
Next shout out. Anyone want to go next?
Yeah, I have one.
Well, you can fight amongst yourselves.
No, I'll let Steve go. That's fine.
My shout out this week is Engineer Bronze. I think it's either a Polish or a Russian. Don't shoot me if I'm wrong there. Channel. They're not an English speaking channel, but they do some amazing metalworking and turning and stuff on the lathe. And their most recent video, they made a small mini, one of the small mini combination safes that you could turn, and the end, they're kind of like a little pot that have got combinations, and they all have to line up into pins, and then it opens up. Yeah, but this one's got 10. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's got 10 million combination on it. So there's 10 million different codes you have to go. But they made all the individual pieces on a metal lathe. But the video is hilarious. If you go on and watch the video, there's a bit of comedy in the video. Even though it's not English speaking, it tells a story, and it's very, very funny. So that's my shout out, Engineer Bronze.
Okay, Richard.
Well, I don't actually have a shout out this week because I've been just completely disorganized and doing other things. But obviously, because I was running a bit late tonight with other things, Jamie and I obviously have had a little bit of a kind of role reversal. So, Jim, boxers or briefs?
Oh, jeez.
Boxes or briefs?
I signed in for this. Holy crap. I should have waited 5 minutes. You got to answer, Jim. I'm sorry. They won't let you go until you do.
Definitely not briefs. Yeah, I like me stretchy Calvin Klein thingies.
There you
go.
That's
my. I can't believe that's my shout out this week. I'm never going to live that down, am I?
Yeah.
No.
Chris, save us.
I've got nothing. I'm sorry. I sign in to just give Jamie a hard time. I found out he's hosting, and you're asking boxes of briefs to poor Jim. I've got nothing, guys. I'm happy to be here. That's all I got, man.
Well, I have actually got a shout out. But before I get to that, I'm going to quickly mention to the people that are over on the SoundClouds or the iTunes or anywhere other means of listening to the podcast that we do
singular media that has a plural. Right, there you go.
That's it. Yeah. That we are actually we do record the podcast live over on the YouTubes. Sundays at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time or 9:30 p.m. UK time. So if you wish to come over and interact with us while we're recording a show, feel free to do so. Now on to the shout out. My shout out this week goes to Jake Thompson from Northside Custom Crafts. He cast a Hulk and he cast it in resin.
I saw that.
And he basically put a lamp under it, and there was some stop motion in there, and he got his daughter in there and wearing a Heath Knuckles hat, and and it was I know how much effort he put into that and how worried he was, and so yeah, my shout out goes to Jake, and thumbs up, Jake. It come out brilliant.
It was an awesome
So, and consider, I think it's like his second or third turn in as well, and I think it's his first proper resin project as well. So,
and he's such an awesome dude as well, isn't he?
He is. And I mean, after he made a coffin for his wedding ring, he's got nothing to worry about. I mean,
yeah.
I love that video. Yeah, his okay, that's my shout out too. There you go.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
There you go. Yeah. And he also used the Easy Wood negative rate cutters, which are now available in the UK at Amazon.co.uk. By the way.
Oh God! All right, Jamie.
Oh, he just slipped that one in nice, didn't he?
All right, so that is the end of the show. So see you later, everybody.
Yeah, and hi to everyone who said hi, by the way.
Yeah, and obviously thanks for coming on with us as well, Jim. That was
yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I've enjoyed it. It's been a laugh.
That's traumatic.
Sorry,
it's been a fantastic hour with you, Jim. Have a great week, everybody.
Take it easy, everybody.
Catch you later.
Yeah.
Ta-ta.